maybe just start with checking in for me to get to know you a little bit. Folks that I haven't seen for a bit, and at least one new face, maybe. Christoph, Army, how are you?
Oh, very good. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, my English is not so good. I'm from Germany. That's the reason why I wasn't an hour earlier checking in, because I didn't think about the time gap between Germany and London.
I see.
I see.
What is your practice background?
My practice background, I'm sitting for 1.5 years, and I've done the silent illumination online course from you.
Oh, okay.
And I read your book, and this is the first time I can see you live, because Germany, London is not so close.
Yeah. You know, are you close to Frankfurt?
Not close, but closer to than London. I live in Essen, Ruhrgebiet. Frankfurt is, you can make it by train in 2 hours, I think.
2 hours. Okay, that's a little bit long. There's a small sitting group there.
In Frankfurt, I didn't know.
Some of my students.
Mm-hmm.
If you leave your email in the chat, and then I can ask Xin Li to take it down, and then send Christoph, and put him in touch with Sijia.
Thank you. Very interesting.
Like the fellow on call now, Duong. There's a gentleman, Zong. It's pronounced Zong, like a Z. He's also in Germany, so he's part of the group.
Yeah. Okay. That's it would be very good. Thank you.
Zibo, I've seen you before. Doing good?
Yes, you have, and it's good to see you again.
Mr. Berta?
Good to see you again, Azibo. It's not the first time. I also belong to the German group. I live in France, as I told you last time, and I belong to German group, and we meet Wednesday. Bill also Wednesday, 7:30 French time. So German time also.
Yeah. So we have a few German folks here. It's good to support one another. Okay, let me just call randomly. Zed, how are you doing? And where are you calling from?
Thanks, I'm doing fine. So I'm connecting from Paris, slowly getting back to meditation practice. A little bit challenging, but I'm enjoying the process.
Yeah. And can you remind me again your practice background?
I started meditating in Vancouver maybe 6 years ago.
Right.
And then since I moved to Paris 3 years ago, I was overwhelmed by other things. But now I feel I'm back on my foot again.
Okay. Hi, Yan. How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
You learned to change the
Yeah.
your name, the Zoom. Okay.
Tiny things I didn't know. So it's good to learn something new every day.
Letizia, Italy.
Here in northeast Italy.
Doing well.
A bit of a bit of a shipwreck of the it's a very strange situation. I'm meditating a lot on what you said, the Heart Sutra talk about the 6 conditions, the 6 conditions of the worldly,
Yeah.
where the self and the world arise, and the 4 fear, the 5th type of fear. And and I'm good, but still it's a kind of, because you said you don't have to let it collapse on purpose, you know, you have to be gradual. But for me, it's never been like that. So for me, it's more like a, you know, there is a kind of rest, but there is no more sense of putting them together, you know, they're just going their way. It's quite strange. Quite strange. Yeah.
Can you give me an example?
Well, so in terms of wealth or sense of the efficacy that you can have when you have your work that's going well, so you feel that you carry on your responsibility and all the rest, you know, friendships are very strange. There are crises here and there. So it was critical before, but there was a kind of sense of like the captain of a ship, you know, when there's a captain on the ship and there's water coming, and the captain is the last one to leave the ship because he feels responsible towards others, towards themselves. And in this case, there is not much much to do here. It's it's like this. So I pick up there was our friend Louis that saw Master Guogu, people who may know Master Guogu, and he was given this koan to meditate on, you know, because he's now old. This our friend is now old, and he remembers when he was full of life and strength. You know? So the koan is the old person and now struggles to, you know, wants to find a shortcut, doesn't feel, and the one that was strong and young, are they 2 or are they 1? No. Yeah. So for me it's the same, the sense of collapsing of those security and having experienced what it means like to feel power or influence or things going in a certain way, you know. So for me, it's the same. That person does not exist anymore. And this one, I don't know exactly who she is, but what is important is the possibility of resting in that sense of you know, yeah, it's a sense of rest. So there is the sense of like a shipwreck, because you see kind of strange change. You don't have a sense of future. Like I up to few days ago, few months ago, I still had a sense of programs and future, wanting to do things, but now I don't particularly find it in myself. So even the sense of practice is like it's not bad, but it's just strange. So I'm meditating on this condition. Sorry to take time, but it's difficult to answer whether I am well or not, you know, even in terms of it's difficult.
Yeah. Well, I'm available if you want to Zoom one-on-one. Yeah. Here to support you. If you have no place to live, you come to Tallahassee Chan Center.
I have a place to live. I have a place to live at the moment.
Okay. So the ship is still there.
I will tell you. I will tell you.
Yeah. in the ups and downs, in the sea of chaos, in samsara. When there's Dharma practice, you don't have to worry about food and shelter. But if you worry about food and shelter, then there's no Dharma practice. Dharma will carry you.
No, I don't worry. I'm used to that. I told about it's a sense of responsibility of doing good things, you know, because through work and I'm used to that sense of self of, you know, carry out good things, you know, it doesn't matter food or shelter. I also lived with no money when I lived in the monastery. I don't have a concern. So that's that captain of the ship. The responsible person is the key thing.
Yeah. So you're gonna find out who the captain is. As you rest. Like who's resting? Okay, Paloma, how are you doing?
Thank you. I'm well. I enjoy very much reading fresh baked translations of Hongzhi, or how you pronounced.
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean? Mold grows around your mouth and the grass sprouts on your tongue. Can you explain a little bit? All
right. So for those of you who are not privy to this, what she's talking about, we have this World of Chan on WhatsApp. It's kind of a platform where there's a discussion group. A lot of people there, and people support one another through practice and raise questions. Once in a while, I post my translations there, or just some teachings. So yesterday I posted something there, my translation of Chan Master Hongzhi, which is the founder of silent illumination practice. And let me see if I can. So this is what he taught. This is an excerpt from his discourse record. So I'll read it to you. To arrive at this great rest and great cessation, as mold grows around your mouth and grass sprouts on your tongue, everything is directly and thoroughly let go of. Wash away your attachments until it is clean and pure. Polish your mind until it's bright and clear. Like the autumn scenery reflected in a lake, or like the moon imprinted in the sky, utterly transparent and clear. You must know that there is a path of self-transformation. If you're able to pivot around to directly and thoroughly let go, then you would not distinguish right from wrong. Precisely where your mind is unable to distinguish right from wrong is where you cannot be confused. This is the opportunity for you to penetrate the very peak and the very bottom of things, where you have exhausted vexations and their roots, reaching to the source of awakening. The myriad sages have no other pathway than this. The wonder lies in the backward journey. It is like borrowing a path to plant your feet. In brightness, there's darkness. In function, there are no traces. On the tip of 100 grasses, in the noisy market, floating and lifting the body as you freely stride with dignity, naturally riding on sound and mounting on forms, you transcend hearing and sight. It is in this way that you must merge with the way. Such is the matter of the patch-robed monks. Actually, let me see if I can copy this in the chat.
I just copied it, Guogu.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, actually, let me put the Chinese there. Okay, here's the Chinese. So when Hongzhi usually he articulates very often what is awakening like, and the path to it in poetic terms. So he's making an allusion to awakening, great rest. Great rest is another word for nirvana, actually. And the great cessation. So to arrive at this place, everything must be directly and thoroughly let go of. Okay, so that's the skeleton of the sentence. And in the middle, there's a parenthetical phrase, right? In the middle. So the skeleton is, if you want to arrive at the great rest, you gotta let go of everything. And that parenthetical phrase functions as the process to which one is able to do this. And the process is making an illusion of so still, the mind being so still that mold start to grow around the mouth, silent, and grass sprouts from the tongue. Now the mouth and the tongue is where you speak. You know? So words is something that words cannot capture. And it's something that one cannot depend on words and language. But if you depend on words and language, these are just constructs, like overlay, these fabrications. But for most people, it is words and language that actually shape their experience. This is all that they've ever known. Right? So most people cannot distinguish between their own words and language and the things themselves. Right? They don't see that. However they understand things, it's actually an overlay to whatever's actually happening. This is just their idea of what's happening. So they make their life and choices based on and the decisions on what they're thinking. So the Chan principle, one of the axioms of Chan practice is not to depend on words and language. To such an extent that, metaphorically, grass start to grow, wild grass start to grow on your tongue, and mold in your mouth because you're not dependent on words and language. So it's a metaphor. Does that make sense, Paloma?
Yeah, I know it's metaphor, but it's like it's coming something very ancient out of this metaphor. Like you were sitting for centuries, for example, you know, you
Yeah.
are becoming a stone deep in the water, full of, you know, fishes
Like
are going around.
mold start to grow.
Yeah. I was wondering,
There's a
like,
famous
yeah.
image of Shakyamuni Buddha in the East Asian tradition, in the Chan tradition, that he's so still sitting in meditation that birds have nested on his head. They build a nest on his head with eggs in it because it's so safe, you know. That's another image. Yeah. Now, this image, how to apply to our daily life, is not that we cast away words and language. It's just that we're not subjected to them. You know? We're not defined by them. Our life is not ran up and down by them.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it shows as well that it takes some time to take this habit or this new way of relationship.
Yeah.
It takes some time. It's not very quickly. It's not easy.
Yeah.
So that grass can, you know, grow and everything. It takes a decade at least.
In this passage, there's a sense of temporality. You know? But in some other passages, Hongzhi talks about this ancient field that since the very beginning has always been there, like here, right now. So here he's talking about process. There's a kind of sense of temporality there. You know, process, you know, like wash away your attachments until it's clean. Purify and polish your mind until it's bright and clear. You see? So the takeaway would be something like, whatever you experience, however you have framed your perception, it could be it, maybe not. Maybe so, maybe not. Don't vest so much interest and take it as so concrete, real, through the ways in which we actually think how things are happening. You know, so vested in our words, how we're framing things. So not being fettered by it, unfazed by it. That's the basic principle for beginners of Chan practice. Because our life is usually so tethered, conditioned by everything around us, that things go well, we're very happy. Things go not so good, we're not so happy. So we're like a puppet, strings, you know. So we're continually being affected by it. So in the beginning of practice, it's very important to learn not to be so conditioned by our perceptions of how things are. And our perception is constructed through words and language, our narrative, our stories about who we are, what other people is doing, what we're actually seeing. And in the Chan tradition, there are many metaphors for this. Many, many metaphors. In a very down-to-earth way, not in the Buddhist jargon. Right? So the Chan tradition, in the Chinese tradition, tend to bring the practice, put the Dharma down from the clouds to something that's actually concrete, to ways that people can actually understand it. Right? So, like Yunmen, Chan Master Yunmen, the metaphor that he often used to say is, every day is a good day. The stuff comes, crap comes up, the emotions, thinking, ideas, criticism, every day is a good day. And when did he say that? He said that during the time of post-Anlushan rebellion. That's a devastation. A time in China in which there are internal civil warfare and uprising, in which something like 360,000 people died. So in those times of turmoil, in which most people are just conditioned by these things, when the external environment is down to the rut, our lives are completely crumbled. Right? So in those times, the difficult time, he says, every day is a good day. So not being conditioned. So that's like mold and grass. Right? And Mazu, Chan Master Mazu, he says, ordinary mind is the way. 平常心是道. The ordinary mind has this flavoring in Chinese, at least, of not being really affected by anything. The first character of this in Chinese, of the ordinary, right? The first character is evenness, 平, like even-handed, leveled. 常 means consistency, right? And 心 is the heart. So the heart is even-keeled, consistent. See, despite the ups and downs, you're consistent, ordinary. Now the problem with us is that we make everything extraordinary, don't we? Like everything comes to us, we make it into a thing out of it. This is happening. So don't make a thing out of anything. You see, very important to learn. Chan Master Yuan Wu, the author of the Blue Cliff Record, 100 koans, gongans, Yuan Wu Keqing Chan Shi. He used a lot of metaphors, like passivity, like crap comes up, things happen. This be like a block of wood, like a tree stump, like one would, he's like an idiot, like an incense burner, put your incense there, ashes and so on, like an incense burner in a dilapidated temple, a rundown temple, like a haunted in the woods somewhere, meaning no one's there. Right? And then Chan Master Gao Feng Yuan Miao, the Yuan dynasty, he says, just be a zombie. Be a zombie. When things come up, it doesn't say that's the end of practice. No, that's the beginning of practice. Because we're so tied, like our happiness, sense of well-being, are so conditioned by our surroundings, by our bodies, that it's important to learn to not be affected by that. Despite all the things that's happening around us, we still continue. The mind is consistent. How do we do that? You have to have a method. You have to have something to serve as an anchor, to anchor yourself. Now, most people anchor their life, like what Letitia is referring to in my Heart Sutra talk. This last one I was talking about. I was summarizing 2 talks earlier when I was talking about Bodhisattva have nothing to attain, whereas most people, they anchor their life and the meaning of their life based on 名利权位势, fame, profit, power, position, influence. And if I add another one, 色, sensuality. So most people, that's where they anchor their life. Right? If things go to poop, and this is completely crumble. Right? So in the beginning, it's at least to see the habit tendency of how we kind of rest our sense of well-being based on fame. Fame actually includes like respect. Like some people just really want respect. You know? Or the rest of the list, like profit, power, authority, control, status, sphere of influence. Yeah, pitiable actually. Very sad. I mean, if a Martian were to come down to Earth and watch these Earthlings, they create these things, these pieces of paper called money, and all their life they chase after. And now it's not even physical. Now it's all digital, like these zeros. Like their whole life is just orchestrated around that. In fact, the whole education system is it's actually reared for education, yes, of course, but it's actually reared to create more zeros, to pump more people into the capitalistic machine so more people can create wealth, right? And you know, some geniuses in the 1950s, in the United States at least, realized that why should we only let half of the Earthlings create this wealth for us? Right? Let's get women involved. Let's put the women in the life force. Let's get the women to make money too in this capitalistic machine. Now, women probably feel agency. I can work, I can have my own life. Yes, all that. But from the perspective, like if you stand back to this mechanism, samsara, it's you know, and the next they'll probably lower the age for the kids, you know, to work. Why? The younger, the better. Get them started on this capitalistic money-making thing, wealth. It's just so stupid. So stupid. I mean, money is needed to survive, to navigate through life these days. Like currently, I'm raising money to help the disaster relief. I just had a Zoom meeting like right before this in Asheville, North Tennessee, you know, through Dharma relief. It's needed. But if one's life meaning is rested on these, you know, 5 things or 6 things, right? And our sense of balance and security, well-being is rested on that. It's very sad. So, not tethered. Well-being, our happiness, the key of our happiness, don't give it to someone else. Don't give it to money. Don't give it to status, wealth. Don't do that. Keep it here. Right? So our sense of well-being is not conditioned by these things. And the only way to do that is Dharma practice. Practice to have an anchor on the mind. So my teacher used to say, most people they put their anchor on their career. And then they start to build a family. So they put their anchor on the family, raising the family, and friends. All of these things are outside. It's good to have those, to have the support. And we should support one another like now. You know, the Zoom call is supporting all of us. Right? But through practice, don't anchor on those things, and then don't anchor on words and language, that is our perception of those things, and then anchor on the mind. Anqing. So the heart is resting on the method, the mind. Otherwise, our sense of well-being is just constantly up and down, because the whole world it's a cesspool. This machinery that conditions everyone, that produces. It's both the product and it's both the product and it produces vexations. So wreck the mind not on that, but the method of practice. And the method of practice is just the task at hand. Engage with the task at hand without craving and aversion, without ignorance, but do things wisely and with compassion, consideration for others, for sentient beings. So it could be washing dishes, it could be meditation, it could be doing relief work. Does that make sense? I just took your question and ran with it a little bit. Long-winded answer, but it's a good opportunity. I like Hongzhi's teaching. I'm just trying to translate that into like life situation, so it doesn't remain some poetic thing about mold and brass. Any other questions? How do you feel about this passage? For those of you who can read it in the chat.
I wanted to ask, actually, continue on that passage, where it says, sorry, just let me just write it, where if you're able to pivot around directly and through, then you would not distinguish right from wrong. Precisely where your mind is unable to distinguish right from wrong is where you cannot be confused.
Yeah. Be a dummy.
But what if you're a dummy? You don't know what is right and wrong, and you don't know what to do anyway. Because then it continues saying that there you cannot be confused.
Yeah. It works both ways. I mean, ignorance is bliss. If a person is like a real dummy, you know, then it's just like clueless, you know, happy-go-lucky. But for those people who are very smart, the metaphor here, the illusion here is you can't think your way through practice. Right? You can't reason your way. Like in Chinese, as I was saying, like my teacher used to scold his students, like us idiots in a monastery when things happen, and what most people do is, for those of you who understand Chinese, 讲道理. Very hard to translate this. It's like you're trying to reason. You're trying to reason and logically analyze the situation. It's not to say that that's useless, but usually when there's a conflict and there's vexations, right? Everyone has their own reason and logic. And problems are not solved that way. So here, the turning word is pivot. The Chinese is 转身. 转身. Shen in pre-modern Chinese actually means self. It doesn't mean body. Modern usage means body, turn your body around. Like a literal translation. But in pre-modern context, it means self-transformation, actually. Hence, I have the footnote there. So if you're able to truly transform yourself, not depend on that which is familiar, which is your words, your language, all the conceptual crutches that you use to navigate through daily life. You put that down. Put that down. Then you won't be able to distinguish between right and wrong. Here is talking specifically of it's not your ordinary right or wrong. This is, you can't mistake in that. This is in the context of practice. If a person is still carrying their overlay of what's right and what's wrong and judging people like a ruler, that person's way off from practice. It's like when a person's practicing huatou or even silent illumination, that sense of wonderment, the sense of not knowing. The problem is we think we know. We think we know everything. Right? When we know something, we have already put whatever we face in a container. Our container, our label, our storyline that gives us a sense of knowing, manageability. Right? I put you in a container, so I know what you're about. You don't know what other people are about. We don't know what's actually happening. It could be something else. So our containers are kind of like illusions. It gives the illusion that we think we know what's happening, so we can manage and respond. That's right and wrong. So like the sixth patriarch, when he received the Dharma transmission, one of the monks we used to be a general start chasing him with a knife. This guy's a general, trying to get him. He thinks that sixth patriarch kind of stole the bow and the rope. So when he caught up to him, sixth patriarch is like this scrawny southern guy, skinny. He put the bow and the rope on the rock. He's like, you're here? Take it. Take it. Is this what you want? And then he couldn't move it. Right? He couldn't move it. It's so heavy. It's unmovable because it's Dharma. And then he changed his mind. It's like, I'm not here for the robe and the bow. Can you give me a teaching? And Huinan says, don't think about good. Don't think about bad. What is your original face? Good and bad is here. Right and wrong, good and bad, having, lacking, success, failure, right and wrong, birth and death. So in that specific course of practice, in which one is very deep in which the discriminating mind has already receded. For example, in the protected safe space of a retreat, in which you can actually drop everything. When it's time to eat, just eat. When it's time to sit, just sit. There's no need for you to judge anything. Right? In that safe space, you gotta drop. And that's why this is the threshold. Reaching to the threshold of awakening. Why? You drop. Good and bad, right and wrong. And that is precisely the next line, where the mind is incapacitated to make discriminations, where it doesn't even arise. That's where you cannot be confused. And the word used for confusion here in Chinese is actually the same character for ignorance, as in the first link chain of the 12-fold dependent origination, avidya. Right? So the fundamental ignorance is not functioning. Right? That discrimination, self-referential mind is not functioning. That's why no confusion. And that's why it's a good place to be. This is the opportunity. That's why the next line, for you to penetrate to the very peak and down to the very bottom. Thanks. What is it? What is it? Without recourse to what is it? Oh, it's this and that, like words and that. Drop that. Just embodied experiencing. What is it? Where you have exhausted, the next line, vexations, down to the very root, reaching to the pinnacle of awakening. And it says, the myriad sages have no other path than this. This is it. All the practitioners in all generations have gone through this. If we don't cut off the discriminating mind, which is self-referential. Now again, this is in the context of intense practice. It's not like going to work, your boss tells you to do some work, you say, I have no discrimination, I'm not going to do it. No, that's just stupid. That's another type of stupidity. Here, it's encouraging to be profoundly stupid, wisely stupid, where you stupefy self-referential attachment. You cut that self-referential discrimination. Then you may have an entry point into Chan. Does that make sense, Aurelio? No.
Yeah, it does make sense.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense, but like I understand that I can understand it or feel it, I don't know. But in like now I will come back to like daily life. And as you say, this is something that you practice when you're in a retreat.
Yeah.
So I come back to this in a different setting then. Like when it comes back, like that kind of feeling, like it means that I need to like look at it like where I am now. That I am now not in the retreat, so I need to like approach it differently in a different way.
Yeah,
so like because this comes back, obviously, this kind of feeling of not knowing right and wrong in your daily life, because this is what we experience every day with other people, with ourselves.
Right.
But in that setup, I should be careful in the sense of like just taking it more like from a perspective of coming back to the method. But in a retreat, we take it up and cut, as you say.
In the retreat, we have to put down everything, including judging ourselves, judging how we're practicing. Is it good? Is it successful? Is it failure? Am I not good enough? Why can't I do that? That's right or wrong, okay? So you put everything down. Just be a fool. Be a tree stump. Be a burnt incense burner in a temple that's dilapidated. You know, have mold grow around your mouth, grass growing out of your tongue. That's retreat practice. In daily life, we have to learn, like I said to Polona, learn not to be conditioned. You see clearly exactly what needs to be done, what can be done, what is the right thing, ethical thing to go forward, to navigate life. You see very clearly. And all the harm that and the injustice that we are witnessing, we respond appropriately, but in our hearts, ordinary mind. Even keeled, not up and down. Right? Even, consistent, rounded, 安心, pacify the discrimination. So we see very, very clearly what needs to be done. You see what I'm saying? Return to the method or respond appropriately. Like for example, Hurricane Helene comes, right? Thrashing through Florida, continuing Category 4 hurricane, continuing through Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, destroying roads, devastating towns, flattening towns. It's been 3 weeks, people still don't have water. Their homes are gone, just floating down the river. We're talking about roads like asphalt, cement, like London, like the car. Yeah, those things are gone. That's how powerful water is, okay? So people are totally unprepared. So what needs to be done is not that I'm a piece of stone, I don't respond. No. We respond to what needs to be done, what can be done. Now, what needs to be done is all these earthlings, all these human beings have strangely chased after and orchestrated their whole life around money, zeros, right? Some people have more, some people have less. So what needs to be done is to rechannel, reroute where there's a lot of zeros to the place where there's no zero now, right? So solicit donation, fundraising. People need generators, they need heat, they need water bottles, they need so many things. Right? So that's what needs to be done. So we respond. And that is the method. Like I said before, remember? The method is the task at hand. Could be washing dishes, could be sitting meditation. Remember, I was saying this. But when you do all these things, no greed, no aversion, clear and with compassion, then everything is the method. Does that make sense? This is what we aspire to. It's very difficult. For example, in this time of suffering, it's very difficult not to feel grief, sadness. Right? It's normal. But as these feelings come up, we see it clearly. But we also see what needs to be done. Right? Grief, sadness. Now this is like disaster relief that we're doing. But there are other more mundane things like anger, when we perceive aggression, you know, we have to see what needs to be done, and we do what we can. We don't harbor resentment, you know, blame. What needs to be done is respond to the things. Right? For example, in London, the rest of you don't know this, in London, we recently had a traumatic meeting, right? Now, out of that, one member, because I was the facilitator, the teacher, one member perceived me as the culprit. Facilitators should be perceived as neutral. That's the problem with being teachers. There are two parties, right? When the parties don't perceive the facilitators as neutral, meaning both parties sees me as on their side. They expect me to be on their side, but I can't do that. I can't do that as a teacher. Therefore, I should not have facilitated that meeting. I shouldn't even be at that meeting. Just throw the problem back to you guys. But I couldn't help myself. Both parties expected me to be on their side, right? So when I'm neutral, what happens? I'm the culprit. I'm the one who's causing this. So I'm the one who's supposed to be attacked. Now, so luckily, we recorded that meeting. So that person who left, I told her, look at the meeting. No one's attacking you. I'm not attacking you. I'm defending you, trying to contextualize, making the other party see what's happening. Right? But when a person is in vexations, vexed, they can't see. They can't see that. All they see is being wronged. Defense mechanism come back up. Self-victimization. So when we receive criticism, which we often do in life, how many of you receive criticism at work, friends, family? Raise your hand. It's the norm almost. My teacher used to say, when people criticize you, that's normal, 很正常, normal. When people are nice to you, that's like unbelievable, extraordinary. Yeah, so you go through life. So if things are within your expectation, it's normal, every day, ordinary mind. It's normal that people attack you or aggression towards you. Then you're not really surprised or overwhelmed. So the thing to do is, you don't have to explain yourself when people attack you. What comes up inside, what triggers inside says more about you than the other person. For example, if my skin is very thick, I'm very good at people criticizing, I have no feelings whatsoever. But if if I get triggered by jealousy, right? if I see something, the person's favoring that person as opposed to the other person, and I really get triggered, that says more about me. The same criticism, some people may have no feelings to jealousy whatsoever, but they can't stand it when someone criticizes them. Even a modicum of criticism, suggestion in a kind way, that says something about you. So that's something to look into within ourselves. You know, so all of us have little trigger points. And examining that, learning to be free from that by using practice. That's most important. Yeah. Most important. So in daily life, we're not oblivious to what's happening. We're not a fool. Can't distinguish between right and wrong. There is right and wrong. There's injustice. There are bullies around. And they are, you know, not so kind people. We see that clearly. We see how it triggers things within us and needs examination. And then we respond also to what needs to be done outside with compassion as best we can. Do you understand? You all can appreciate that? Yeah, very difficult, but that's our practice. That's our practice. So in Chan, we recognize Buddha nature in all beings, and innate goodness, wisdom, passion. So this is in all of us. It's in you. So these opportunities that we face, the difficulties, they help us to bring that out. It's probably easier to respond to aggression with aggression. You know, to get angry, to have vexations, to fight back. It's easier to do that. But these things don't really bring out our Buddha nature, our potential of who we can be. We can be better. Christoph, you have a question? Is someone raised a hand?
I may, if there is time for adding something, if you could, you wrote an article during the summer. The title was, what is harmful, what is beneficial, like a question mark. And for me, that has been much more powerful than thinking right and wrong, because right and wrong does not capture, but the sense of acting in a way that's beneficial rather than harmful, you know, having something to assess. So that's where responsibility and the sense, you know, the sense of self comes. So can you say something, you know, continuing your reflection more on that side? Because in that article, what really was very pacifying for me, but not pacifying like in a sense of, okay, is that a sense of not knowing can go so deep that one can even know that everything that's doing is a mistake, but still there is compassion. Still one does their best, even though you cannot know. So in that sense, there is a sense of hollowness inside. And it's only the conditions that can tell. And sometimes you can't tell. So for me, if you could say something, because I found that article that highlights that sense of darkness in a way, no? That not even that. I'm not a nihilist person, never been a nihilistic person in my life, Okay, everything is relative. No, And yet now I have to say, yes, I really do not know when it's beneficial, even I can do my best, but I really do not know.
Just do your best. And if you people that you don't know what she's referring to, you can just Google that article. I think it's free somewhere. Lion's Roar, one of these Buddhist magazines.
Lion's Roar.
Or I actually, if you go to guogulaoshi.com website, I think my assistant posted that. All the articles that are published different places. There's a PDF there. That is a whole different topic. It's related, but I don't want to take up people's time. We're already 12 minutes over. So some people have to leave and so on. So the article, what's harmful, what's beneficial, and reread it, and try to put some of the things in practice, and then you'll discover, what's inside. We can begin to embrace it and work with it. Okay?
Well, thank you very much. Guogu.
Take care of yourself. Love yourself. Love all those people around you.